Sharing art is the price of making it. Exposing your vulnerability is the fee. That was a quote from The Creative Act by Rubin, a book that I have just finished reading, and I cannot express to you how many gems are in here for anybody who is doing anything in the creative realm. But today I want to focus specifically on something towards the end of the book that covers sharing your work as an artist and the output stage, because I think that that is one that we all shy away from and can get really stuck on. So let's dive in. So I create things weekly and put them out online on various different platforms. And I have been doing this for a little over 4 years now. And even I can struggle still with that side of things. Towards the end of a project, when I am nearing sending something off to a client, pressing publish on a YouTube video or a newsletter, or just pitching an idea, I can suddenly start to completely shift and change into this paranoid version of myself that questions everything that I did, every creative choice I made. And I just start feeling overcome with all of these feelings of doubt and kind of want to just back out. My mind and my ego really take over here because I am starting to think about the people on the other side who are going to receive this or view this or listen to it. And then that really changes my perspective on it. It still amazes me every time how this happens, because when I am in the beginning process of the creation phase, which is something that Rubin talks about a lot in the beginning part of the book, it's like that safe space where you've had this idea, you're working on it on your own, you kind of think it's great, you're like, oh, my idea is so good, and you just feel really excited about it. And then as you get closer to that end point, the stakes feel higher and you start doubting yourself, and all of these negative feelings can come in. So it really is something that everybody experiences. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it, how good you are. It's just a part of the creative process. I think the key here, and the reason that this happens, is because of the act of sharing your work means that it is open to other people's interpretations, other people's opinions, especially nowadays. If you think about putting something online, the irony is that not enough people see it, and that's kind of our complaint. But it seems as if the whole world is now privy to this private thing that you've been doing and you've been creating, and it feels so vulnerable. As Rubin says in the book though, the vulnerability is the fee. It's what we must endure and pay and deal with if we want to put our work out into the world. We don't know if it's going to get a good, great, average, lacking, amazing response, but it's just the fee. It's just part of it. This is just the cost of sharing your ideas and your work with the world, and it's imperative that we finish off this part of the process. A way that Rubin talks about this in the book is called regeneration. He describes this as ending to start anew. So the act of sharing the work, kind of this purge of sharing everything that you've been working on, makes space for the next idea and the next project to form. If we simply keep creating on top of what's already there and hasn't been shared, it's like you're just filling up this cup and it's just going to overflow, or, it's going to get clogged up inside you. I really feel like you need the catharsis of sharing the work and like getting rid of it, being done with it, giving it to the world, and then they can do what they will with it. I am personally not a long-term project person. I like to work in short bursts and release things because I actually quite enjoy that process. I really feel invigorated when I finish something, share it, and then I can work on something new, because normally I have a lot of ideas looming, and by the time I get to the end of an idea or a project, I am kind of done with it and I just want to put it out and then move on to the next thing. And I think that the act of sharing just rounds it off and closes the loop, and then it enables me to move on to the other idea. If I stick with the original thing and it's kind of, maybe there's a change I could make. I could labor over it for a little bit longer. I could turn it into this like behemoth thing that I'm working on. It might change course and it might just keep doing that, and I might be stuck with it forever, and that just scares the shit out of me. I don't want that to happen. That is why I share so frequently, because I think it's a great muscle to be training to do that. It builds your resilience as an artist as well, because you're constantly putting things out there and you're getting feedback whether you wanted it or not. So it makes you stronger. And then it also just allows me to explore as many ideas as possible and really take advantage of all of the creative things that are around me. Creative feeling is energetic. And that's definitely something that Rick Rubin talks about in the book. He's a very sort of spiritual person, which I'm not like totally like that. But when it comes to creativity, I do think there's a little bit of magic going on. And there's these like energies and states that you have to follow and flow with. And I think that a lot of creatives get stuck in one of them, and it's like you're in like creative purgatory. So don't stay with a project for too long. If you are sitting on something right now, consider releasing it. Consider releasing it half done and just being done with it, getting it off your hard drive or out of your house, just let it out into the world, let it be seen, and then move on to the next thing. So advice is one thing, and often when people on YouTube or in podcasts want to talk to you about things and tell you all their little gems, they tell you these things and you go, oh yeah, and then you tell someone and then you don't do anything about it. So it's a goal of mine to give you some action points, things to walk away with so that you can actually do these things and not just sit there and think about them. Setting yourself some deadlines or some goals around projects will really help you. It's really simple. We hear it a lot, but honestly, just opening up your calendar or your notepad and putting in specific dates for things and just holding yourself accountable to that. Make a plan of when the release date for said thing will be. That is how a lot of creatives are working who are successful, because they have record deals or galleries needing shows from them. And when we are amateur creatives, hobbyist creatives, whatever you want to call it, and we are just working off of our own schedule and own accord, we need to put those things in place to help us then follow through and release the work. Another great way to make the release stage happen is to sign up for some kind of challenge. Sometimes even when you've paid for something, that can just be really great because then you push yourself a little bit more. You could also apply for an open call, have a look around and see if there's any submission dates. Then you have a date set by an institution that you need to have something in by. Another thing that I like to do, because often I am kind of working to my own schedule and there isn't really anyone asking for anything particularly, it's kind of just up to me, and that can be really daunting, especially if you're having a really off week and you don't feel like doing much, is having some kind of carrot at the end of the stick to keep you motivated. This could be something as simple as food. Sometimes I'm writing something, I need to finish it, I've been working on it for a long time, and I'm like, I'm gonna eat that chocolate bar after I finish this. It could be something that simple. For you, it might be new paintbrushes or a new tool that's going to get you excited about the next creative project. That would probably be a lot more functional than the chocolate bar. Lots of creative work is very solitary. So you can be on your own at your desk. You don't really have like this big team of people because you're just trying to do it all, and you're doing the admin side of things. You're scheduling, you're trying to market, it's a lot to do. So consider the systems that you can put in place to just refine your processes, because this will really help you. That's how businesses operate and are able to get so much done, because they have a person on each thing that they're doing, that's their role. They have systems and processes in place, and that can really help you as a creative person to follow through. If you are someone who tends to have this burst of inspiration, create these things, sign up for things, do things, and then not follow through. If you have a system around sharing your work and you're constantly closing that loop and going through that cycle, it will just become second nature to you. I actually now feel anxious if I haven't put something out because I'm so used to doing it. It's part of my process and it's part of my art. It's part of how I share with the world and how I show up for myself and everybody else creatively. I have thoroughly enjoyed The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I highly recommend it. I will link it below if anybody wants to grab a copy. And as you can see, I have been madly referencing little bits and pieces in here, and I will be doing a full video on my main YouTube channel, which is predominantly photography. If you are seeing me for the first time, you can also find me over there. And look out for a deep dive into this book and how photographers specifically can use it. I am sure that I will be referencing this on the Lucy Lumen show as well, though, because it's just full of so many gems. Thanks for watching and listening, guys. I'll see you in the next one.